So, good morning, everybody. Welcome to the final virtual event of the Stefani project. My name is Roberto Pini. As you said, I am the director of the Nello Carrara Institute of Applied Physics of the National Research Council in Italy, and whose acronym is IFAC. It is located in Florence, in Tuscany. IFAC serves as the lead partner of the Stefani project, so I'm very pleased to open this conference and to welcome you all. Stefani stands for Space Technology with Photonics for Market and Societal Challenges. And in fact, the project is aimed at directing regional research and innovation policies toward photonic-based space technologies that address what are today's grand societal challenges. So just a few words to explain why we focused our activities on space technologies with photonics. And then I will conclude with a brief presentation of the speakers we have today. So regarding space and photonics, I'm speaking from Tuscany, a land where since Galileo Galilei there is a tradition in optics and related technologies, which today are included in the term photonics. Photonics is a well-recognized key enabling technology that can offer to space technologies many instruments for satellite and avionic use, like, for instance, cameras, spectrometers, optoelectronic sensor for remote sensing, which can be characterized by a wide spectral bandwidth, high spatial resolution, and so on, with application to Earth observation and space exploration, as well as a compact size and reduced weight sensor from mini satellites and drones. So these combined technologies are important for our regions and territories, since they can help to control the quality of life, the temperature and the humidity, for instance, at the ground, support precision agriculture, monitoring the urban environment as well as the urban mobility, up to the surveillance in the event of natural disasters and fires. So in this scenario, regions can really play a strategic role by promoting programs for supporting the space sector, capable of enhancing the industrial skills, aggregating small and large companies together with research centers. In a regional and interregional value chain, we can develop new technologies for Earth observation, as well as services for the advantage of public organizations and citizens. Well, actually, I should say that it is clear that the region could not cover the cost of a proper space mission of a satellite, for instance. This is not actually their purpose. On the other hand, they can bear the cost of preliminary mission studies demonstrating new technologies and services, which can nominate and support regional industries for participation in national and international space programs like those of the European Space Agency. So coming to the program of the day, we will have an introduction about Stefani project by Valentina Raimondi, my colleague from IFAC, who is the scientific coordinator of the project. And then we will meet all the Stefani regions that will present how this project helped them to achieve great results. We will talk about this with the City of Prague, Photonics Bretagne, Liège Space Center, and then we will learn about experiences from Durham County, North Rhine-Westphalia, and Andalusia. And finally, Stefani faced the challenges of the next program period, so we will talk about this with the Tuscany region. And looking at the next programming period, we are very pleased to have today many guests. We will have Ségolène Jean from the Interreg Europe Joint Secretariat. She will talk about the future of the Interreg Europe. Peter Schenk from the European Commission will present the synergies between cohesion policy and Horizon Europe within the next programming period. And then Simona Costa from the Tuscan organization at University and Research for Europe. She will illustrate some example of success stories of European funding program synergy. So at the end, I'm very proud to inform you that Stephanie has been recently approved for an additional year of exchange, starting from September 2021. So we will cooperate at interregional level to align our policies for COVID, resilience, and recovery. So I would like to thank you all for joining us. I would like to thank all our wonderful partners for this year of very interesting and exciting cooperation and the Interregional European program for giving us the chance to run this project. I would like also to thank Francesca Martemucci from Resolvo. She has organized the project as well as this event. So we are excited. We are looking forward to continuing to work together for another year. So now I will leave the floor to Leonardo Marras. He's the Regional Minister for Economics, Production Activities, Credit Policies, and Tourism of the Tuscany Region for his recorded speech. Thank you very much.
Un saluto a tutti i partecipanti da parte della Regione Toscana, in modo particolare mi preme salutare a nome del Presidente della Regione Eugenio Giani, che ha affidato a me il compito, l'onore, l'onere della delega per questo momento. Noi siamo molto interessati alla efficacia e all'importanza degli strumenti come i programmi Interreg. Sono delle occasioni di formazione e scambio di buone pratiche con gli altri stati, le altre regioni europee, momenti di confronto che possono essere fonte di arricchimento e di miglioramento della programmazione. È di questo periodo, almeno in Toscana, la fase finale della concertazione per il quadro strategico regionale sui fondi strutturali a gestione diretta e sarà sicuramente interessante anche nel futuro vedere come si incastrano i progetti Interreg e come quindi il confronto tra le comunità europee possa portare ad un miglioramento dell'uso della programmazione, direi, ordinaria. In modo particolare, per esempio, per noi è interessante e sarà interessante vedere come implementare le politiche regionali per la ricerca e sviluppo e il trasferimento tecnologico, sapendo che la prospettiva, in particolar modo per i programmi e i fondi strutturali, sarà centrale proprio su quel fronte. E naturalmente da questo punto di vista un cenno vorrei farlo anche all'importanza della space economy anche in Toscana, un ambito fatto di grande impresa nazionale presente, ma da una filiera che soprattutto nell'ottica ha una storia significativa, ma che ha visto anche nel distretto tecnologico della manifattura avanzata la possibilità di legarsi a programmi nazionali e di stare dentro e seguire anche i programmi europei proprio per avere la capacità di stare al passo. E naturalmente il fatto che ci sia una comunità che si organizza, che dialoga, che insieme si organizza appunto e si promuove è sicuramente un fatto di grande rilevanza per una regione come la nostra. Questa è anche l'occasione per offrire a tutti un ringraziamento per l'attenzione e un augurio di buon lavoro.
Perfect. So now we will leave the floor to Valentina Raimondi.
Good morning to everybody. I'll share my screen. Well, good morning. I'm delighted to be today here with you and very proud to introduce you the Stephanie project and its regional vision. Stephanie, that stands for Space Technology with Photonics for Market and Societal Challenges, brings together local actors to exchange experiences, knowledge on policy models. It has been funded in the frame of the second call of Interreg Europe program that aims at promoting, improving the implementation of policies for local development. Stephanie's main objective is to provide a support towards public policies that can promote an effective use of research and innovation in space technology based on photonics. In order to provide products with strong market potential and capacity to address socio-environmental issues. The project has been funded by the Interreg Europe program with a contribution of about €1.5 million. The project started on the 1st of January 2017 and it lasts for 5 years, so that we are in the latest stage of the project. The project gathers 8 partners from 7 different European regions. To exchange knowledge on policy models to guarantee effective benefits from space technology based on photonics. The project has been fostered in the frame of the space smart specialization strategy environment as a backbone for the research and innovation policy strategy for European development. It relies on a quadruple helix model that aims at the involvement of the 4 main actors, that is research, industry, and users, and also managing authorities. Innovation, in fact, investments in innovation can be definitely more effective if they fit in such environments and ecosystems, innovation ecosystems like quadruple helix models. Let's have a closer look at the Stephanie Consortium. Apart from the Institute for Applied Physics of the National Research Council of Italy that is serving as a lead partner, there are several managing authorities in the consortium as Tuscany Region, the City of Prague, and Durham County Council. There are several research and innovation clusters, technological clusters like Photonics Bretagne and the cluster from North Rhine-Westphalia, de Fundación Andaluza para el Desarrollo Aeroespacial, and the Centre Spatial de Liège as a research organization. The approach adopted in the Stephanie project relies on two pillars and faces two main policy challenges. The first one is the quadruple helix cooperation along the technological value chain, both at regional and interregional level. The second one is to address an easier access to funding for space technology by providing experiences, good practices to simplify funding scheme to make them more effective and to strengthen them. This is done at two different levels, an interregional level within the Stephanie partnership through the organization of events, study visits, workshops, and at local level by means of the establishment of local stakeholders group. These are named Space and Photonics Innovation Actors, SPIA, this is the acronym, and they have met regularly on a regular basis at the local level in the different European region to exchange knowledge, experiences on policy models to identify strengths and flows of regional policies, and to identify possible actions to be undertaken. This is the timeline of Stephanie's activities. As you can see, the project was organized in two phases, a 3-year phase one that lasted till December 2019, with the exchange on policy needs and challenges, then the identification of possible solutions and the development of action plans. The latter have to be implemented and monitored during the second phase, that is reaching its last final stage right now, since the project will conclude in December 2021. These are the main outcomes of the Stephanie project we all are proud of. First of all, we established 7 SPIA groups at regional level in order to exchange ideas, discuss possible actions to be implemented to develop a regional vision. The second one, we discussed and developed 7 regional vision documents to identify possible improvement for policies at the local level. Then we presented 15 good practices, and these were accepted by the Interreg Europe program. with aim to identify the best experience, the best ideas to improve policy models for space technology based on photonics. We organized and delivered 13 staff exchanges at interregional levels to learn about other experiences and to understand better good practices. And in the end, we developed 7 action plans for the implementation of policies aimed at improving the research and innovation in the space-based sector. And these were approved by the Interreg Europe program. What we learned in these years, well, beside the direct project outcomes I've shown you and the policy implementations that are in progress in this last phase of the project, Stephanie has been proven to be an excellent tool to gather valuable information and benchmarks from other European region institutions to learn about strategies and policies. We experienced also a strong move toward a strengthened quadruple helix cooperation both at local and interregional level. We have as well strengthened international networking activities we will see in the next presentation. These, as well as we had the chance to screen potential synergies and field of common interest. We had the possibility to identify possible cooperation projects with relevant stakeholders, including small, medium enterprises of other regions involved in the project. Last but not least, a further proposal for 1 year additional activities was recently approved. It aims at handling post-pandemic crisis in the sector, and it will start in next September. That's all from my side. I really thank you for your kind attention, and I'll leave the floor to Francesca.
Thank you, Valentina, and thank you, Roberto, for this introduction, for welcoming and presenting Stephanie project today. And now we are going to start with a series of sections dedicated to Stephanie's regions. And we will start to talk about how Stephanie did support regions to develop new projects. We will start to talk about this with the City of Prague. And I will ask our partner, Jan Stachura, to please turn on his camera and the microphone and to start his presentation. Thank you. Hi, Jan.
Hi, could you see my screen?
Yes, you can maybe put it in the presentation mode. Otherwise, I think it would be perfect in this way. Thank you.
Now it's perfect.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now it's a presentation mode.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry. So, thank you to be here. I'm here for the Prague City as a project partner of Stefani project, and I would like to talk to you a little about our space-related projects in terms of the realization phase of Interreg Europe Stefani project and about our space ecosystem in Prague City itself. So, just to start very briefly to introduce what is space ecosystem in Prague about. So Prague is a capital city of the Czechia. So we have many governmental stakeholders here. The key stakeholder in Stefani project was or is Prague City itself, like municipality stakeholder or municipality policymaker. Also, we have in Prague City the main ministries related to space sector in Czechia. In Czechia, typically it's a Ministry of Transportation because we don't have a separate ministry or space agency in Czech Republic. So Ministry of Transportation is key stakeholder from the national level perspective. And also we are very lucky that we have seated in Prague EU structures or structure organization for space. Till May 2021, we have GSA agency seated in Prague, and from May, this GSA agency was transformed to European Space Agency. So we are quite happy and quite lucky city that we have seated this main EU space agency here in Prague. So this is the governmental sector or level of space ecosystem in Prague. So there are all the key stakeholders from all the regional, national, and EU levels. In terms of businesses, space businesses in Prague, the main stakeholders are connected with within several alliances or clusters. I think the most important in terms of realization phase of Interreg Europe Stefani project was ESABIC cluster, which is related to European Space Agency, and which join several tens of incubies, several tens of small medium enterprises related to satellite data, space sector, or like downstream or upstream application of space technologies here in Earth. Also these kind of applications. We also, because Prague is a capital city, have many headquarters here. During the realization phase of Stefani, we were mostly focused on these smaller and medium enterprises, but also in Prague there are those of big international companies or consortium like Honeywell and many others. Also, the academic sector is quite important here in Prague because Prague has most or major universities here, like Charles University or Czech Technical University. Both these are related to physics and technical part of knowledge of photonics or space technologies. Also, the Prague is a seat of Czech Academy of Sciences, which is the main basic and advanced research organization in Czech research system. For example, Institute of Physics, Institute of Photonics and Electronics are mostly related to the realization phase of Stefani project. So all these stakeholders were somehow related to our expert groups during the realization phase. And now just very few words about some stakeholders. I already said that from May 2021, the European Space Agency was established here. So we are very happy that the main stakeholder is here in Prague, and also new chairman of this EUSPA was elected, and is Mr. Kobera from our Czech Republic Ministry of Transportation. So this is our key stakeholder from European perspective. As I mentioned, European Space Agency as a big Prague cluster. Maybe just to introduce you several examples of startups. We cooperate during the Stefani project with them mostly to introduce them some funding opportunities. What are the opportunities to develop and to accelerate their businesses in terms of OP Prague 2 or in terms of other public funding. Several examples from SABIC incubes and businesses. One company called DroneTag is focused on the drone industry and controlling the drone operation. We prepare the grant analysis also from that for them. And another company, it's called Varistar. It's focused on the smart agriculture and using satellite data in a more precise agriculture practice in terms of fertilization, agriculture mechanization, etc. So these two examples could show wide variety of sectors which are the SABIC incubes focused on. So it's a very wide spectrum of entrepreneurs in this SABIC cluster. Maybe the most important policy tools in terms of Stefani projects would be this operational program Prague, Pole of Growth, which is regional operational program, about 200 million euro allocation. It's a multi-funded program for Prague region itself. And from the perspective of Stefani project, we are mostly focused on priority axis 1, which is focused or which goal was to strengthening risk R&D and innovation potential or development. So this was our main project focus during Stefani realization. To briefly introduce our action plan implemented during the Stefani project phase 2, we focused on several tasks or several tasks during the operational program OP Prague changing. The administration part was mostly focused on simplifying rules for the beneficiaries and also simplifying project monitoring phase, because during our SPIA group, the beneficiaries and potential applicants gave us the feedback that the administrative burden is one of the biggest problems in terms of applied and realization of public funded project. Other aspect was to define some key topics, because space technologies are quite far from the market, and sometimes it's difficult to introduce them like to the political stakeholders or to the end customers. So during our session, we tried to define some common topics which could be also dealt by space technology projects like public transport, on some environmental issues. So we try to state these topics during the SPI group meetings. The networking part, we organize several sectoral meetings, for example, for public transport, where the specific stakeholders try to prepare some joint project ideas and project proposal. And from the strategic perspective, we focused on S3, Smart Specialization Strategy of Prague region, and tried to emphasize here the space sector in terms of, for example, also of EU level. And the funding topic, I already mentioned that the administrative burden is one of the biggest barrier, but yeah, we talk also about the funding topic. And just very briefly on the end, one example of the successful story of the space-related project, which comes from the realization of our action plan in Stefani. It was focused on GNSS data in public transport. Two applicants were Prague Regional Transport Operator and Research Institute of Cartography from the Central Bohemia, and the scope of the project will be or is the more precise location measurement and give some standard on GNSS chips in public transport system, in vehicles, in buses and trams. And we finally prepared the joint proposal focused on this major outputs like methodological software and some testing experiments. This is some short introduction about public transport in Prague. It's quite big, and about more than 1 billion passenger is transported like annually, and we focus on more precise measurement of actual position of vehicles, and also of more precise measurement of other parts of the system, like bus stops and etc. So this is what another problem. It's inaccuracy during some parallel road location. Another problem which could be solved by the project. And next problem will be where the situation when the road are multi-level crossing or junctions, the problems with the precise locations or in the GNSS in vehicles. So all these typical problems in public transport system could be solved by the project, which is applied for because of Stefani project application. So thank you. Sorry to be a little bit later, just one minute overdue, and I'm ready to answer your questions.
Thank you. Yeah, you were perfectly on time. I see there is an hand raised by Valentina. Valentina, if you have a question, maybe we can keep it for the question and answers time after the next session. That will be the one about the joint action from the Bretagne and Wallonia region. I would please ask Carl and David and their guests to take the floor. Thank you very much.
Hello, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, okay. Good. I'm David Méchin from Photonics Bretagne, and I will present this joint presentation with Carl Fleury-Frenet from who is also connected from the CSF from Liège. The idea of our joint presentation and joint work during the Stefani project was actually, the objective was to set a bi-regional call between Wallonia and Brittany. That was the main topic. So before going into details, I thought it was good for both of us to present our ecosystem and our organization. So just photonics in Brittany, it's quite a strong field for photonics in Brittany, as there was a lot of research and work done since actually the 60s for the telecom application with France Télécom and Alcatel, who are present in Lannion. And so all those experience has been transferred to new companies over the years, and now that explains that there's a strong community in photonics in Brittany. And Photonics Bretagne is actually a dual organization, as we are both a cluster gathering more than 100 members in the field of photonics in Brittany, but we are also an RTO with facility, with equipment and etc. And we are expert in the development of specialty optical fibers, components, and more biophotonics. Then I leave the floor to Carl for the next slides, and I will get back to you a bit later.
Morning again. I'll give a few words about the Centre Spatial de Liège, Space Center of Liège. Actually, it's an institute for space instrumentation, technological research and testing of optical payloads, which is recognized by the European Space Agency. It has been active in the field of space since the late 60s. And since more than 20 years, we have been involved in industrial partnerships for the development of technology and transfer of technology with the support of the Walloon region, transferring and developing technologies for other sectors than space on a wide range of applications, ranging from medical device to solar energy that involve different expertise found in our center. Optical design, signal image processing, optical metrology, method developments, optical coatings and micro-optics, plasmonics for sensing. And we have, I'll say, the opportunity, next slide, please. We have the opportunity as a center to be part of a rich and living photonics ecosystem in Wallonia, which counts more or less 50 entities at different locations of the value chains, which participate in different organizations and networks, which can be found in universities, regional cluster, research centers. You have also incubators and park of attractiveness that support development of new activities in the field. And we have also the chance to have a panel of companies that are both active in the field of photonics and space, and which are also regrouped in within the pole of competitiveness, which is called Skywin, that played an important part in the implementation of our action, common action between Wallonia and Brittany. Next slide, please.
There's some kind of delay, actually, I think.
With respect to Stephanie, we wanted to address the needs of the company. So we're at the the adventure, which I was not participating at the beginning, and I joined quite lately, but I won't take credit for the work of my colleague Joseph Bernier, which I associate to. It became clear to Joseph and David that there was a strong, and completely agree with that, strong complementarities between Walloon and Brittany photonic space ecosystems. There was a strong will to collaborate between the different stakeholders of both regions, and there was a clear need for to promote that collaboration through a synchronized, flexible, and easy process. And we had to set up these conditions. So the first diagnostic or first overview of the initial situation is that the existing co-founding interregional collaboration, in particular in the field of photonics, current instruments such as the ERANET, Eurostar, Interreg, Horizon program, required some catalyst or catalytic action to get more, to promote flexibility and accessibility for SMEs. For instance, the complementarity of the players from the different regions it's a general diagnostic that you need to have collaboration to build up disruptive innovation. And it's clear that no region has all the technologies and application in the value chain in the field of photonics, especially for the space sector. So clear conclusion was teaming up with others, involving players from all the value chains, from the very research to the end user, to achieve the goal of setting up. So the main objective here was to set up a flexible and simple interregional calls for SMEs on the topic of photonics for space, of course, with a strong involvement of end users such as large companies and agencies such as European Space Agency, having a focus on the technology transfer from research lab and research center to the industry. The first idea was to use existing simpler regional calls and open them up to collaborative European region interested in the co-funding local players. We needed also a very reactive process from the very start, the definition of the collaboration to the start of the project itself. That was identified as a key factor for the success of these new interregional collaboration. The new initiative will help solving 3 issues by removing first barriers between the research and industry, between photonics and space industries, and between regions to foster innovation in Europe.
Okay, so I will continue with how it came up. So it's actually, it all started in Italy or in Florence, like a love story in 2017. With the kickoff of the Stefani project. And you see on the picture, the first actual meeting between Joseph was representing the CLCL at the time and myself. And so we started to discuss about, about us, about our best practice, about our strengths. Then there were also the following year, project meeting, which actually was organized in Liège. And so we had the chance to visit the Liège ecosystem, to visit the CSL. And Joseph started to talk about a call called Plan Marshall, which was in place in Wallonia, and which could actually theoretically accept international funded partners. And so it rang the bell between us, because we said, well, maybe we could use that call to have joint project between Wallonia and Brittany. And so that's how it started. Then I invited Joseph in Lannion for our General Assembly, Photonics Bretagne. And actually we had in 2018 a focus on space application. Actually it was a presentation, and the location was in a planetarium. In Plumeur-Baudou, and Joseph presented the Stefani project, and also more information on the Stefani, and maybe some hints on what we wanted to do for joint project. And so it was good. And so we continue. Again in Liège with a study visit. So that means that I brought with me in Liège 5 companies from Pini, and so to visit the Liège ecosystem and also identify complementarities between us. And after all that, we thought, well, so there was also the project meeting in Lannion. So that means that all the Stefani partners came to Lannion and visited also the local ecosystem. And so you can also see, obviously, Joseph, who was around there. And so all in all, we decided that definitely this was interesting to have this joint work and initiative. And so we started to discuss with the regions. So Joseph and Mr. Lemoine, who I think is also attending the meeting, and we'll talk a bit later, came to Rennes and to Brittany, discuss with the Brittany region to see basically how this could work together, how what could be the conditions to co-fund those bi-regional projects. And we found out that it was kind of doable, and that could be definitely something that we could achieve. So then we continue so that gives me the occasion to say that Estelle Madec, that you can see on the picture from the Bretagne region, couldn't make it today, and obviously apologize, but she's really following that very closely. And so the conditions were to basically submit a bi-regional project at the same time to the Walloon Managing Authority and the Brittany Managing Authority, with a timing set by the Walloon side, as it's still a Walloon call. But basically, there will be some evaluation on both sides, both on scientific and business outcome. Funding rate will, so as mentioned, the Walloon Managing Authority funds the Walloon partners, and the Brittany Managing Authority will fund the Brittany partners. Funding rate is obviously different compared to industry research, depends on the size, etc. And at least one project was aimed to be funded, as the timing was quite tight by the end of the project. And so the idea was really to initiate a prototype project, and maybe if that works, well, give the occasion to have more projects later on. Here's the indicators and monitoring that we planned. We want to check after the project is done, if like the job created, the increased turnover for companies, the follow-up projects, and the number of companies benefiting from the instrument. Then the next step was to organize a webinar. So it was online because we were on the COVID situation, but it was supposed to be local, in presential, but it was a webinar, online webinar. So it was the matchmaking event. We have a bit more than 20 participants, and actually 3 topics emerged during this webinar between both Walloon and Brittany stakeholders and companies, research centers. And from the 3 topics that emerged, one topic was, we decided that it was a good topic to submit as a proposal, as a business regional project. The letter of intent was submitted on last July, so 1 year ago, with a project that is called Kafka, and which will be presented in more details by Yves Hernandez a bit later on, partner of the project. The project was accepted by Walloon and Brittany managing authorities earlier this year with 6 partners, total budget of 1.9 million euro, with a public funding of a bit more than 400 euro from Brittany, a bit more than 800 euro from Wallonia, and the project will start September this year. So as a perspective, and that will be the last slide, we have also, there's another idea to have another project with another consortium between Wallonia and Brittany. So the idea to have this first prototype project seems to work, because there might be a second one, and the letter of intent might be submitted very soon. And the idea also in 2022, in the framework of the additional call application, would be to set up another bi-regional project, but this time using a Brittany call and not. So that's it for me. So I guess now I should leave the floor to Mr. Lemoine from the Walloon Managing Authority, who will, I guess, present in a few words his feeling about this project and what he thought about and his action during this preparation of the project. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everybody. I will be very brief, just to emphasize what has already been said. So I'm here representing the public service of Wallonia, let's say the Ministry for Research and Innovation. And we are both manager and owner of the, let's say, research programs and funding for Wallonia. Just to be clear, we are in favor, of course, of to be pragmatic, of course, and to use, let's say, Interreg Stephanie project to launch bilateral or multilateral calls between the partners, and Brittany is one of the partners we already work with. Despite the, let's say, the funding programs, especially launched in the framework of the Marshall Plan and the competitiveness pools as Skywin, so the project Kafka, I think, will be presented by Multitel now. Hope it will be not an administrative nightmare. Kafka, it's well, okay for the acronym. It exists some other opportunities to work together and to found good projects between our two regions. We talk in Rennes, let's say November 19, about some possibilities. One possibilities could be, of course, through the Eurostars program. Most of you think, I think, let's say, so know this program, which is a EUICA and European Commission initiative. So of course, Belgium and France are involved in EUICA, so it could be, of course, a very flexible possibility to launch bilateral or multilateral, of course, calls. The idea is to focus perhaps together in the photonics field and to build some projects together to present them in the cutoff dates of the Eurostar deadlines. And one other possibility which has been discussed in Rennes was that the IRA SME program, which was, let's say, a near program, so funded by the European Commission, but now this program is self-supporting, and we are about 15 regions and countries involved in that initiatives, and we launch about two calls a year, one end of March and the other one end of September, and every region as Brittany or Tuscany or Prague region, so everyone is welcome to join this these initiatives, which is managed by the German Ministry of Research and day by day by an agency called IRF, based in Berlin and Colonia, and it's a very efficient network, and the calls are very well organized. So it's another possibility to be pragmatic and to make our stakeholders, our companies, our industries, and our research centers work together to build some interesting research projects. So it's fine for me now. So okay, give the floor to the next person. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And maybe Yves Hernandez from Multitel, if he's around.
Hello.
Hope so. Yes. Hello, Yves.
Hello. So you can see my screen with the presentation? Not yet.
Not
Maybe now.
yet, but it's coming. Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
So I will briefly present the project Kafka. So it's a project that was submitted in the frame of the Skywin competitiveness pool, the call Plan Marshall number 31. The project Kafka would mean in English auto-calibrated sensors based on multi-core fibers for embedded applications. So I'm not coordinating this project, it's coordinated by the company GDC Innovation, but I will just try to present how we build up this project and what are the main goals. So this is an outline of the call of the talk, sorry, with the origins of the project Kafka, the consortium, the objectives that we target, technical concept, value chain, and budget. So we participated to this matchmaking event organized by Skywin and Photonics Bretagne in June, end of June last year. During this this meeting, we were part of a brainstorming session together with Thales, Alenia Space that was participating, and some other partners of the project today, like Photonics Bretagne, IDIL, Open Engineering, XBlue. And one of the participants then, Thales, was putting on the table some issues they have with the decoupling of temperature and deformation with fiber optical sensors they use for satellites. They want to use for satellites, by the way. So during this brainstorming, we came up with an idea of using multi-core optical fibers for trying to answer to this problem. So that's how basically the project idea popped up, and we were all convinced that it could be a good solution, but we needed more application cases. So after this meeting, we contacted as well the company Sonaca that came up with another similar problem, but embedded into composites. So that's why Sonaca told us to contact the company GDC Innovation, which is one of their subcontractors. They're developing smart composite materials. And then came up also to join the consortium, the company Pixel-sur-Mer from Brittany, with another application on the nautical field. So from this meeting, we had rapidly a consortium that was built. So with the Walloon partners, GDC Innovation, Open Engineering, and Multitel, the French partners, Photonics Bretagne, IDIL Technology, Pixel-sur-Mer, and we had an external advisory board, which was built from the different end users of the technology. So Sonaca, Thales, XBlue, and also John Cockrell, which is interested by this technology for defense applications. So the project was built of the consortium was composed of 2 RTOs, Multitel and Photonics Bretagne, and 4 companies. So this is one of the conditions for this kind of Plan Marshall projects. So we need at least 2 RTOs and 2 companies. So in this case, we fulfill the condition. Another condition was to have an SME as a project leader, which was the case also with GDC Innovation.
Yves, I'm told that actually we are late, sorry. And so if you can, maybe 2 minutes would be okay to present.
Very fast, so this,
yeah.
I will not detail the
especially on the maybe on the technical side, because I don't think there's a lot of technical here.
So I go fast. So the technical applications or the different applications from TAS Sonaca was always to measure temperature and strain. So we want to use these multi-core fibers to have on each point decorrelation of the 2 effects. So we'll not go into the equations. Here the value chain. So from the project, we have the optical fibers fabricated at Photonics Bretagne, and Multitel and IDIL, we can fabricate the interrogators to get the signals from these multi-core fibers. Pixel-sur-Mer and GDC will work on smart composites, so integrating the fibers in the composites. And we have this end users external advisory board. And then Open Engineering is developing the modeling tools for the sensors, both for the fabrication of the sensors and also for the use of these sensors. We have a global budget of 1.9 million euros. As you can see, the budget per partner is quite equilibrated. There is no partner with more than 50% of the budget, for instance. The budget per region is also equilibrated between Wallonia and Brittany. And also an important condition is that we have more than 65% of the budget for the industry, which is also another condition for submitting a Plan Marshall project. So the project was approved in March for Walloon region in May from Brittany, and we are preparing the consortium agreement to start the project on September 2021 for 3 years. And that's all. I made it very fast, I think. I hope it's okay.
Yeah, thank you very much, Yves. I'm sorry we have been a bit late, and I was a bit late before you. Thank you very much for Mr. Lemoine and Yves for those presentations. Very informative.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you, Carl. Thank you, David. And we are very proud of this result of this joint action plan and joint project. Now, I would like to ask you from the floor, from the audience, if you have any questions for our partners and for their guests and stakeholders. Here we are to address them together.
So if you have any questions, please put it into the chat, or otherwise you can activate your microphone, or I think it's a bit better if you raise your hand beforehand, so that then you can ask a question. Are there any questions?
I did not collect any question from the chat during the presentations. I don't know if any of you has some doubts or is curious to know how did manage to run a joint call. Okay, so now there's a very interesting presentation. Thank you, Chris, very much. Thank you, everybody. And so if there are no questions, you can think a little bit also about it later. Otherwise, oh, Valentina, I see here. Do you want to ask something? Please activate your microphone.
Yes, sorry. In fact, it is not a question, just a comment, note on Ian's presentation. I mean, I really appreciated it just because it highlights how space technologies can impact everyday life. I mean, with the presentation of Galileo-based applications for public transportation. In this respect, maybe I'm curious to know if general public, I mean the final consumers, are aware of it, and in case if some action is foreseen to raise this awareness of space technology in everyday life.
Thank you, Valentina. Yeah, in general, during the implementation of Stefani projects, we were in contact with SRO, which is the organization under the ESA, and their mission is to promote space in general in basic and secondary schools and also in general public. So in Prague region itself, I think SRO make the biggest portion of work in terms of raising awareness among youths and students. And as I mentioned, we cooperate with ESABIC, which promote the space-based solution in business sector. So these two stakeholders are probably the key players in promoting and raising awareness about space or satellite data solutions in Prague region itself.
Thank you very much, Ian. Nice to hear this.
Okay, I think until now we don't have no further questions. So I think on the agenda, the next point is a short break until 10 to 12. So I think we will meet again at 11:50.
Yes,
thank you very much.
Thank you, Andrew.
See you soon.
See you soon. Welcome back, everybody.
As we are just in time, I have a small remark. First of all, I stop my screen sharing. What about a group picture if you're all back?
Hendrik, you don't believe our guest.
No, I think so. No, I fully believe in our guests. Wait, I have to. So if you don't mind, please activate your camera, and I have to start Photoshop for my screen pictures. So just a few seconds, because So, okay, are you ready? Would you like to activate your camera, please, now? Yes. Okay, so I will take the first picture, and I have to take several pictures. So first picture now. Then a second. And now my second picture. Perfect. Okay, second picture. Okay, so thank you very much. And now I would again hand over to Francesca so that we can go on with Durham.
Okay, so now we are going to have a long series of presentations from our regions, starting from Durham County. And each of them will last 10 minutes each. So I will leave immediately the floor to Ellen Scott and her guest to start to talk about their Stephanie results. Thank you, Ellen.
Thank you very much, Francesca, and good morning, everybody. I'm really delighted to be here at the Stephanie Project's final event. It just seems so long ago since this project started, but really good to see all the good things that have happened since 2017. It's been a joy working with all the European partners as well, you know, in the last 4 years. So without further ado, we're going to do this session a little bit differently from the previous session. I've brought along, metaphorically speaking, our stakeholders, some of our stakeholders from the Northeast region. So I'm Elaine Scott, I'm the project manager for the Stephanie project in the UK region. I know we've talked about, mentioned Durham, but actually our activity spans throughout the northeast of England, of which Durham sits. But before I go straight on to the interviews, I thought it might be a little bit useful for the audience here today to give you an idea of the region. So the northeast of England is has around about 2.4 million population. It borders with Scotland, Cumbria and North Yorkshire. You will know, of course, of Scotland, being one of the primary space regions in the UK today. In the northeast of England, we're a little bit perhaps less mature than some of our partners regions in terms of a sector, but we're gaining ground very quickly. The Northeast Satellite Applications Centre of Excellence, which is funded by the UK Space Agency and the Satellite Applications Catapult, has been here since, well, for the last 7 years. And if we were to think back 7 years ago, there was very, very little space activity or space businesses in the region. I'm also very delighted to share with you about a month ago, there was a national report. This is a biannual report called The Size and Health of the Space Sector in the UK. So it's run every 2 years. And it gives you a report on the contribution of the space sector to the economy in the UK. And in the Northeast, we had an increase of 17% in income. That's taking us to about £88 million worth of activity in the region. And also I was pleasantly surprised that the number of space organizations in the Northeast has gone up by 50%. So we now have 34, but actually I know there are more than that, but we'll just go with that, is an increase of 50%. Employment, which is why we're all doing this at the end of the day, is to really grow the economy, went up by 12%. So, you know, we've got some really good numbers. So we're on a momentum currently. So we're really excited to build on the work that we've been doing through the Stephanie project. So as Roberto said at the very start of this this conference, this activity, or the project really looked at sharing good practice between the regions. And for us in the Northeast, the two good practices that we decided to adopt in developing our action plan were very, very simple, but very important in terms of scaling up what we're doing in the region. So one of the good practices that we built on is really about developing what we call the network of networks. In the Northeast, there is a strong capability around manufacturing, advanced engineering, and in automotive and offshore energy, etc. To really leverage the benefits of space and photonics in space, we needed to really create a network of networks. And the second good practice that we wanted to build on is to create a mechanism to better inform and prepare the stakeholders in the region for funding opportunities. So by combining these two good practices, one of the things that we did was to start to develop a cluster. So although we had the Centre of Excellence to carry on activities in the Northeast, if you remember what I said, we had a very small number of companies and stakeholders in the region space. We have now got to a point where we have a little bit more of what we call a critical mass. So the timing was quite right, and we started to develop a cluster in the last year or so. So that's the picture, and that was one of the actions from our action plan. So without further ado, I think the best way of illustrating how well that's working, we're just bringing one of the examples that we have here in terms of activity. The first person I'm going to interview is Alan Welby. Hello, Alan. Good to see you here.
Hello, Elaine. Hello, everybody.
Hi.
Stephanie.
So Alan is the Innovation Director for the Northeast Local Enterprise Partnership, or NELEP, as everyone in the region will know the organization as. So Alan, with the left, is the organization's private public education sector partnership that has a role in not delivering, but certainly putting together the strategic economic plan. Is there anything you want to add in terms of, have I described it right, Alan?
Yeah, I suppose we're set by government to drive economic growth in the Northeast. So how do we get more businesses? How do we get more jobs and grow that economy? And the growth that Elaine talked about of the growth of the space sector in the Northeast is really exciting, and how we collaborate and work with each other to make that happen is really what's exciting me and our day-to-day job.
Okay, so one of the strands within this project is what we call the Quadruple Helix. So how important is the Quadruple Helix principle that underpins this project in influencing the region's innovation strategy and policy, particularly in the space sector?
Yeah, it's totally. I think you talked just in your introduction about the journey you've been on of going from a center to a cluster. And actually, what I think we're trying to develop here in the Northeast in the space areas is a broader ecosystem. So all these elements working together, collaborating to give us a competitive advantage and grow our market share. I believe that just doesn't happen just because it happens. I think the best places, the places that compete the best in the world, are the ones that coordinate some of that activity. Of course, you can't coordinate all of that activity, but the places that are coordinating and looking at their gaps, particularly, and how you can foster and grow a place and grow market share, are the ones that do better. And I think that ecosystem I talked about requires all the partners in the region, both public, private, and citizens, to play a role in that. Because if you get one part of the ecosystem right, but the other part not particularly effective, then it just doesn't work. So one of the areas we're focused on is talent, skills, people. You can have you've talked about your businesses growing and growing and growing, Elaine, but if they don't have the people to come into those businesses, effectively they will leave and go where those people are. So we need to develop those people. Finance, money. If those businesses want to grow, but the investment community or the banks don't understand why they need to back these businesses, then they will go elsewhere where they can get that. So there are a number of different components, number of different ingredients in that ecosystem which are really important, and it's only by that quadruple helix of partners pulling together that you address the barriers that they have to allow the sector to grow.
That's great, thank you, Alan. And we continue to work with yourselves to really embed the space sector and with your.
You're doing a great job, by the way, Elaine.
Thank you. We try. Yeah. Thank you, Alan.
The other thing I would say is, just before I go, I think the link into things like Stephanie, where you're learning from other regions about your approaches, no place has got it right, is vital. It's really easy when you're doing regional economic development to look inwards and think that all the solutions are local. They're never. So these partnerships, these cross-national linkages are vital and really important.
That's great, thank you, Alan. I'm conscious that Anna and I've been prompted by the organisers. We're already.
Sorry, I'll shut up.
I don't know how that's happened. So without further ado, next on our panel is Dr. Eamon Scullion from Northumbria University, one of the universities in the Northeast. So the centre began to bring together the community through the Cascade events. Has that made a difference to how the community is connected, do you think? And has that led to any collaborations?
Yeah, thanks, Elaine. I hope you can hear me clearly. So yeah, I would echo Alan's point. Elaine's done a fantastic job, I think, in bridging the academic and industry community, especially through the Cascade events. Particularly last year, whenever the pandemic came along, academia, basically all the academics went online and tried to form conferences and events like this to kind of network. And the Cascade events were the first opportunity that I had to see what was going on in the local economy in terms of the satellite technology sector. And through those Cascade events, I was able to network with a local company called Isocom, and the director for that is going to speak next, I think. And we got together around a project related to laser optical communications for small satellites. And through that networking event, we were able to put together a project towards the UK Space Agency's National Space Innovation Programme. And we bid it for about £460,000 from the Space Agency to develop a novel laser, high-speed, high-power laser communication system. And we were successful. So we got the funding in November last year, and that project completed at the end of March this year. And now we've expanded the consortium and we've incorporated more organizations and more businesses in the Northeast. And we're going to bid for the phase 2 funding, which will be valued at approximately £1 million in the next few months. So all of this started off with Elaine and her Cascade events, which has been, which should take a lot of credit for that in the first place. So thanks, Elaine.
Thank you, Eamon. Oops. Sorry, I thought I was on mute. Thanks, Eamon. That's great. And this is the beginning of something bigger as well, as you've just mentioned. Next up is Thomas Byatt. He's the managing director of a local company in Durham, in the Northeast. Hi, Thomas.
Hi there. Hi, everyone.
Hi. Just how important is it work with research institutions to develop your product and being part of the cluster in the Northeast to access funding?
I think it's very important, but before we start, I have to congratulate the Stephanie organizers. They're absolutely brilliant. I've enjoyed listening to some of the projects, especially guys from different countries, which makes it fantastic because we've been working with several countries in the past 30 years. As you can see, some of the projects which we have developed has made it into a space, which we are very proud of. In addition to that, we found that it's very important to work with universities and also liaise with them to learn more from the research which can be benefiting products developed for future. And this is one of the reasons why we've been working with Northumbria University because of that. And also we've been working with SAM, which is one of the projects, again, through European support to develop our technology and expand our capability in the space. We have been in business for a space since we have actually 30 years now almost, and we have been supplying products to space. The first one was actually International Space Station. Since then, we have been extremely successful developing and producing products for the space-related products. So we hope that the research and development will offer us opportunity for the new project. As Eamon mentioned, we'll be looking forward to develop the next phase of this project, which we see be able to be manufactured them in the northeast of England for majority of European partners.
That's great. Thank you very much, Thomas. I think our time is well over now. So, but I think we've got the message across. Francesca, I think we're looking to do the Q&A session later after our two
Yes, exactly. So I will ask everybody to keep their questions for our guests that I really thank to be here today. So with no delay, I will leave the floor to Dirk Kalinowski for the presentation of their session. Thank you, Dirk.
Thank you, Francesca, for the kind introduction, and welcome to all of you to our presentation about the first results and the consequences here in North Rhine-Westphalia in regarding to Stephanie. My name is Dirk Kalinowski, and here I'm the project manager at the NMWP in Düsseldorf in the heart of Europe. Based on the discussion with the regional SPEAR regional actors and the local stakeholders here and the activities as we had at the regional SPEAR meetings. Our main challenge within the project was relatively clear within a short time. Many research institutes and companies are already involved in the field of space and photonics here in North Rhine-Westphalia and bring in their expertise into many national, European, and international activities and missions. Here are only 3 examples of that. That's the first one here, that's the combustion chamber of the Ariane rocket, which is forged here in Meinerzhagen. That's a small town in the rural and hilly area in the southeastern part of North Rhine-Westphalia. And I think all of you know the actual videos of the Mars surface and the small flying helicopter there. The bearings of these actuators and mechanisms for the Perseverance rover of the NASA has been developed in Aachen at Cerobert. And not to forget, the next LiDAR system for the Merlin satellite has been developed at the Fraunhofer Institute for Laser Technologies, also here in Aachen. So as you see, there's much experience, but nobody knows it because there's no visible community in comparison to other regions in Germany or in Europe. Based on that, and especially based on the discussions with our Stephanie partners, we've developed an action plan which gives a few fundamental recommendations for North Rhine-Westphalia. So the first point is to establish an ecosystem along the Quadruple Helix between business, science, politics, and the society. The second point is to promote already existing cooperations between the partners to create new jobs and to make it more visible. And the last point, and not least, is especially currently is the focus on sustainable and environmentally friendly technologies, or as you can say, shortly green technologies. I am glad here that these recommendations have not gone unheard, but have been taken up very quickly by the regional government. And so I'm also glad that I can, or that we have here today, Dr. Harald Cremer, and I will stop the session for that. He's the network manager of the new aerospace network for North Rhine-Westphalia. And I hope that he's here and he can hear me. Yeah, I can see him already. So, Dr. Cremer, can you give us a brief insight into what aerospace NRW is and what is it for?
Yeah, first of all, thank you very much, Dirk, and thanks for having me here in this wonderful event. I think in my eyes, this event really provides such a number of exciting insight and ideas of the space industry future. And yeah, it's really a very good event. I like it very much. But let's come to your question. I think you already mentioned some parts of it, but I will go a little bit more into detail about the network and how it comes together with the activities in Stephanie. I think one could say that the main objective of Aerospace NRW is to boost the industrial development of aviation and space in the federal state of North Rhine-Westphalia by generating visibility and supporting also the intra-industrial network. But you could ask, why do we need such support anyway? Why does the industry need such support in this network? And Dirk already talked about it. I think Germany is really well known for its strengths in the aerospace industry, especially in the northern and in the southern part of the Republic. But however, when you're talking about NRW, we are in the western part of Germany. NRW is a little bit of underestimated, really. But even though we have really a significant number of the industry representatives which are located in that region. Dirk already mentioned some projects, some products that come from NRW in this last slide, and if you summarize all this about this region, one could say that every aircraft and every spaceship on the world relies on parts produced here in North Westphalia. In other words, our region is something like a hidden power or a hidden champion in the industry of space and also in the aerospace industry. When you compare our region to other region in terms of companies, it depends a little bit on the inquiry you look at. I think we are really proud that NRW takes the 4th place in the German supply chain ranking and the 3rd place in the space industry. And this is something, we have a so-called catalog of German space actors, and this is where you can see what is really the industrial power of our federal state, especially in the space industry. And so you could summarize that we are better than our reputation, and we would like also to overcome this fact that we are so strong in the area of space industry, but nobody really knows this. And what we do is, in one point in our network, we say, okay, we want to do good and talk about it. So this is one of our leading slogans, and also plans to action to help the industry representatives, and meaning to show the world and the regional political system the potential which lies really in our region. And coming back a little bit to our, let's call it, main activities in the aerospace NRW network, which is funded by the NRW government. You could say that our actions are defined or divided into 4 pillars. That means we have one pillar that is about networking, we have a second pillar which is about information, a third pillar which is about projects, and finally the 4th pillar, it's about strategy. And I would give you some examples about what we are doing in these things. First pillar, it's about networking. As mentioned in the beginning, we want to grow a regional ecosystem. And the first step is to form a network with all the parties of the industry, the universities, research and development, and also the politics, because we want to have them all in our network. And the aim is to create synergies or to form partnerships between those involved parties. Furthermore, the network could also help about the innovation transfers from the universities into the industry. So what we do is we organize web talks, we organize events, we organize workshops, and to support all these know-how exchange between all these partners in our network. The second pillar I'm talking about, it's about information. Information is mainly about communicating the competences and activities of the region, and also it's about regional marketing. So that means we want to show ourselves also in the world, and we want also to provide industry insights and developments to the companies, academia, and also the authorities and the political systems. The third pillar I'm talking about, it's about projects. It's easy. It's about helping companies, startups, and also the academia to ramp up projects and to find, if needed, it's not every time needed. Sometimes the companies finance it only by their private or their own money. We also help to find the right funding models, and we help them to be successful in their project activities. The last pillar is about strategy, and that is about, we want to be the central point. We want to be the first touch point for all involved and interested companies, research institutions, and also the politics. And together we want to define a strategy, where we have to go and what are the technologies of the future, what do we have to do, and to make this together with the local authorities, that they also know what the companies really need and what the future really is all about. And yeah, and all of all, I think we hope that it will pay off in successful companies and sometimes also about new companies, like new startups, what we are also very active in. It could also be in new infrastructure and all of all, strengthened and interconnected industry position here in NRW in the area of North Rhine-Westphalia. That's so something in a nutshell about what we are doing in the aerospace NRW. I hope this was your question.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Cremer. And with a look at the clock, could you tell us in 2 sentences in which way the Stephanie project has involved or influenced the development of your network? Because as you mentioned, it started this year.
When I look back to the beginnings of the Stephanie project, I think we also had this strong industry in the area of aerospace and also this academia landscape, but we didn't have any network. And I think the establishment of the network, this was really one of the main ignitions of the Stephanie project, and it was really an idea which came out of the Stephanie project. And I think all overall, I think if we didn't have had the Stephanie project, I'm not sure if we would have such a network here in the area of aerospace, and if we could really develop this competences further. So I think it played really a big role, the Stephanie project. Yeah. That was short enough. I hope so.
That was short enough, I think. I have to ask the organizers, but I think they are already glad with us. So thank you, Dr. Cremer. And I think you will stay here.
I will stay here,
up to noon or later noon.
I'll try to be the whole event, but I'm not sure.
That's good. And I can hand over back to Francesca and Henrik.
Yes, thank you, Dirk. There was very in time and last questions answers. So I will thank you again, Dirk and Harald, and now I will give the floor to Macarena Márquez for the presentation from the Andalucía region.
Yes,
thank you.
It already works.
Okay, good morning. Can you hear me well?
Yes, perfectly.
And can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, so good morning. Good morning. First of all, I would like to congratulate the organizer of the event. My name is Macarena Márquez, and I work in the Advanced Center for Aerospace Technology in CATEC, located in the south of Spain. The Andalucía aerospace industry has a privileged position, representing 1.57% of the global Andalusian GDP. However, until now, the Andalusian industrial strategy did not include any specific plan, particularly addressing the aerospace sector. Therefore, Stephanie project has played a very important role in line to define new policy changes. In fact, FADA has fostered the first Andalusian aerospace strategy, and thanks to lessons learned in the project, we have prioritizing actions such as foster Industry 4.0 and also research and development space code. From the beginning of the drafting process, FADA has had an important role defining the measure to include and very active participation in the workshops and meetings organized to its elaboration. It is important to highlight that in Spain, there is no national aerospace plan. This will be the first aerospace strategy at regional level in the country. Therefore, this could be a high impact in the national sector, providing the basis for creating the next regional aerospace strategy. Next, I will show you a short interview that includes the key question of the strategy. Thank you. I will stop this and I start sharing the video with sound. Francesca, can you see the video?
Not yet.
Not yet. I don't know why. Wait, I will start again with the process.
Now I can see that you are sharing your screen.
Good morning. Welcome to Stephanie's final event. First of all, I would like to thank Carmen, Melanie, and Miguel Angel the opportunity to talk about the Andalusian aerospace strategy and how Stephanie is inside it. Let's start with Carmen. Carmen Sillero, can you introduce yourself, please?
Hello, I'm glad to be here, Macarena. I'm Carmen Sillero. I'm Head of Division for Strategy and Programs at the Agency of Innovation of Andalusia. So I have been very involved in the Andalusian aerospace strategy, and I am ready to discuss about it.
Okay, so what do you think, where is the roadmap for the implementation phase of this strategy, Carmen?
Well, the implementation phase is already started because the strategy was approved in March. We have set the steering committee in May, and all the measures have started to be deployed. The first one has been related to the activities that are needed because of the crisis. You know, the aerospace ecosystem has been very highly impacted by the COVID crisis, and we have defined measures to help companies to access liquidity. So these first measures has been defined, are soon to be launched, but the main activities of the strategy has already been set into motion. We are going to organize working group for defining this measure related with the definition of R&D activities. If you remember well the strategy where you have been as CATEP very involved, and we discussed it in the events of Stephanie in the event we have held, we have defined the several measures related to new aviation that is required to define capacities in the companies in order to be able to be part of this project that are going to transform the aerospace sector related to sustainability, electronics division, and so on. We have also new activities related to these disruptive technologies that are required in order to transform the concept of aerospace we have nowadays. The use of artificial intelligence, these new materials. These are very related with the topic of Stephanie too. And we've also, in the strategy, have measures related to space. And this is a new area in Andalusia where we have some activities that we are betting in this in order to enhance our ecosystem to be able to be participating in this important project. But we have more measures related with training and education. We have our universities working in defining new masters for providing this professional we are going to need. We are working very hard in infrastructures. You know, we have Zeus in Huelva that is an amazing infrastructure that is great for UAV development and the certification of these devices. And we are also CATEP, that you are going to be one of the elements of the strategy too. We are going to improve your capacities because you are a key element in the aerospace ecosystem, not just in Andalusia, in Europe. And we are also very involved in the qualification of professionals that are going to be needed in the factories and are going to be created and promoted in vocational training systems, because they are going to be formed working both in the factories and in the centers. So these new professionals that are going to be the key in the Andalusian ecosystem of the future are also very well considered in the strategy. And all these different elements, infrastructure, training, funding, and all these capacities we are going to put into motion in the strategy are already in place, as we are working very hard in the new framework of funding, European funding. We are going to have many elements that are going to be the source of funding for these activities, and we are very committed in developing all these measures. So we are into motion. Yeah, we are now working.
Okay, thank you very much, Carmen. It's very interesting because it gives us the idea to all the stakeholders in the aerospace ecosystem. So now the turn is for Melanie. I will raise my second question. Melanie, could you introduce yourself, please?
Hi, Macarena. Thank you. Well, first, I would like to thank CATEC for this opportunity and Stephanie Consortium. Well, I'm Melanie Durth from Andalucía Aerospace Cluster. I'm the project manager of the cluster, and we are a private association that is representing all the Andalusian aerospace companies in the region.
Okay, the question is, Melanie, are you working in the cluster? What is the impact or the benefit that the strategies will have on the small and medium company in the short and medium term? What do you think?
And finally, a key point for our companies is that this strategy will give access to new infrastructure of excellence, such as CEU, which is a Center of Excellence for Unmanned System, or CFA, the Advanced Manufacturing Center that will provide the necessary tools and knowledge to our companies. So just to conclude, we have a regional aerospace strategy that is perfectly designed for the whole Andalusian aerospace ecosystem. Now we need to put resources to work on it at company level, and in order to make our companies more competitive at national and international level. Thank you.
Very clear answer, Melanie. Thank you very much. And now I will ask the last question to Miguel Ángel Trujillo. Miguel Ángel Trujillo is the head of autonomous system in CATEC. So Miguel Ángel, I will raise the last question. Based on CATEC experience, collaborating with company, how important is to continue the research and development funds in the ecosystem? What do you think? What is your opinion?
So thank you, Macarena, for your question. So in my opinion, R&D funds are vital for the whole ecosystem. But think how important it must be for a technological center as CATEC. It is well known that technological developments require time. So the continuity of funds help a lot in the maturation of the technology. So this is related to the increase of the technological readiness level, the TRL, until the risk of investing in the technology is low enough that a company decides to bring it to the market. So it is logical to think that the maturation process of the technology increases a lot the probabilities of transferring this technology. Moreover, I think that without this continuity, it is pretty challenging to invest the time and funds necessary to increase the TRL of the technology so that the industry becomes interested in commercially exploiting that technology, that solution. From our experience, technology must be at least around TRL 7 to make it attractive for the companies to invest in it. To give you an example, increasing the TRL from a TRL 2 or 3 to a TRL 7 that we're saying, usually takes about 10 years. So now you can imagine how important the continuity of R&D funds must be to succeed in developing this new technology.
Okay, thank you, Miguel Ángel. As Carmen said before, CATEC has actively working in the preparation of the aerospace strategy, and thanks to Stephanie project, we have understood that the continuity of funds in the aerospace sector is very important. We don't have more time. Thank you very much for participating, and we will continue in this Stephanie final event. Bye-bye.
Thank you, bye.
Bye, thank you. Okay,
Francesca, that's all from my side. Thank you very much. I can, if anyone have any question, I would be happy to answer.
Yeah, now if you from the audience have any question for, of course, Macarena, but also for Elena and for Dirk, don't be shy. And you can raise your hand and we can activate your microphone, or if you prefer, you can write down the question on the chat.
Hello, everyone. Well, my name is Javier Garrido, and I am from Andalucía in the south of Spain, the region where Macarena has presented the last presentation. And I would like to make a question to her about if there is any measure related to Industry 4.0 training programs or something like that for the small and medium companies.
Okay, Francesca, I will answer. Thank you, Javier. Yes, it's covered in line number 5. The action will cover issues related with business management, for example, strategy, business model, talents, and enable technology and their application to the industry value chain. In this way, once the training actions are developed, and as a result of them, companies will be able to define the digital transformation plan for their business. I hope I answered your question, Javier.
Yes, you have. Thank you so much, Macarena. Thank you for the presentation. It has been really interesting. Thank you.
Oh, I see here an hand raised up by Emma. Please share your screen with us and tell us your question.
Hi. Yeah, I have a question for Elaine and the other sort of stakeholders who are present from Durham. So obviously, I really enjoyed being involved in Stephanie, and it's great to see just a small amount of the impact that the project's had in this session. So thanks everybody for your presentations. It's been really interesting. With the Durham Action Plan, I know that we were using the policy instrument of ERDF Priority Access 1. Elaine, what has been the sort of challenges surrounding that policy instrument, and has it influenced how you're going to use that going forward?
Thanks, Emma. Good to see you here after all these months. Good to see you looking well. Yeah, so it has been a little bit challenging because of our unique, from a European point of view, situation with Brexit. So the ERDF policy instrument that we originally put forward in the project, became quite limited to use, but delighted to say that we have been able to evolve using another instrument. Certainly that is the instrument that we're going to be using going forward with the additional activities for Stephanie. And that's using, and Alan will be very familiar with this, is using the Innovation Delivery Partnership model, which we're piloting in the Northeast to kind of look at how we bring that whole ecosystem and how we connect with other innovation sectors within the region to really maximize what we're doing. So in terms of using ERDF, we have been able to do a little bit of it, but probably not as much as we might otherwise have been able to. But the key thing for us, I think, it's the clustering, which we've learned. I mean, clusters are not a new concept, but what we did actually learn from the Stephanie project is the how and the experience from projects. So yeah, so does that answer your question, Emma? Thank you.
Okay, I think there are no further questions within the chat, but possibly I have another question. To North Rhine-Westphalia, as I understood this, the Aerospace.NRW cluster already started, but what are the next steps?
I think that goes into my direction. I think so.
Yes, sorry.
No problem. Maybe I can tell some things what we are actually doing. I think we started with a network in March 2021, so it's not really established. So at the moment we are building up this whole network. That means, as I already mentioned, to bring up all the partners. But I think what is really interesting at the moment for us is we have a big funding program. It's called in German, I don't know the English word, it's called Rheinisches Revier. We are going out of the coal, transferring coal into energy. Germany is going out of this, and also North Rhine-Westphalia. And it's a big funding program. It's about more than 14 billion euros. And I think the area of aerospace is also one important thing for the future transformation of the region. And what we are actually doing is, together with the companies and the research institutes, to build up a strategy of what we have to do in the future to be successful in economical view. And also when we are talking also about aerospace, all these topics like CO2 reduction is also one very important thing for us actually. Okay.
Okay, thank you very much for your answer. Do we have further questions?
I don't see any further question from the chat. I don't know if anybody else wants to raise their hand. Otherwise, Hendrik, I think we can go for the lunch break. What do you think?
Yes. We can, because yes, we have no further questions. I don't have any ideas for further questions as well. So let's go for the lunch break, and then we will meet again at, let me take a look, at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, right?
Yes, exactly.
Then
We will have the presentation from the Tuscany region, and then we are going to have a few thematic presentation from the Interreg Europe program, from the European Commission, and also from the Tour for EU organization. So we really look forward to seeing you again after lunch break. Thank you, everybody.
Francesca, sorry, just to say for the UK audience, they're back at 1 o'clock.
Yes, of course. We are always saying chess time, so it's 2 o'clock chess time, so it's 1 o'clock for you. Yeah, perfectly.
Yeah, see you soon.
See you soon. Bye.
See you soon. Bye. Have a nice lunch break.
Yes.
Hello, everybody. Perla, are you ready to start?
Yes, I'm
okay,
here.
Perfect.
Okay. Good afternoon to everybody. I will try to share the screen. Okay. So again, good afternoon. My name is Elena Perla Simonetti. I work for Tuscany Region in the Department of Supporting Policies for Company. And today I'm the voice of the team, of the internal team working on Stephanie project implementation. My intervention will focus on the importance of the Quadruple Helix and on the next programming period challenges. I will leave you the floor. I will leave the floor to a video interview to our director. But before, I want to briefly share with you some consideration about our experience in Stephanie project implementation. I want to stress the importance of mutual learning that allows us to gain special knowledges and to deepen strategic partnerships with all the project partners that I thanks now. And of course, we have learned more about the Partnership for Innovation, that is an innovative tool driving innovation from the demand size. We have learned more about, of course, the quadruple helix approach, as well as about new and innovative and simplified funding schemes. We'll, of course, are going to capitalize all the learnings in order to improve even better our policy instruments, facing with the big challenge of the European structural and investment funds, but also with the challenge, the very new challenge of the National Plan for Recovery and Resiliency. I'm happy to know that our project will continue for another year. And I'm so pleased to have the occasion to collaborate again with all the project partners. Now, I want to share with you the interview I made to our director, Mr. Albino Caporale, that is the director of the Direction of Productive Activities in Tuscany Region. I asked him three things. The first one is, which is the added value of the quadruple helix approach to the regional policy for research, innovation, and technological transfer? Here, what he answered.
Il metodo della quadrupla elica è uno strumento può essere utile nella costruzione della programmazione regionale, sia il piano regionale di sviluppo, sia i futuri programmi di fondi strutturali, i quali naturalmente, particolarmente questi ultimi, hanno delle metodologie, delle prassi che derivano dagli orientamenti della Commissione europea. Rispetto all'esperienza di Stefani e di Interreg c'è una novità rilevante che è la nuova programmazione europea, non solo dei fondi strutturali, ma i piani nazionali di resilienza e ripresa, che in qualche modo devono raccordarsi tra di loro e quindi incidono, orientano e influenzano le azioni prima dello Stato e poi delle regioni. Ad ogni buon conto, la fase di interesse di questa metodologia è sicuramente la partecipazione di stakeholder nelle forme delle singole imprese piuttosto che di organismi diciamo, di coordinamento.
Okay, can you hear me again?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Just to be sure. The second thing I asked him is how Tuscany region encourage the stakeholders dialogue, in particular in the framework of regional policies for photonics and aerospace technologies.
Nel quadro della preparazione della nuova programmazione di fondi strutturali, FESE in particolare, questa direzione ha avuto l'incarico di elaborare una parte della RIS 3 che è di competenza dell'autorità di gestione sui temi della digitalizzazione, della transizione digitale e delle transizioni tecnologiche in generale, che sono uno degli asset anche del piano nazionale di resilienza e ripresa. Abbiamo attivato un lavoro con il gestore del distretto Advanced Manufacturing 4.0, al cui interno è ricompreso anche il settore dell'aerospazio. Stiamo elaborando delle analisi sulle tecnologie digitali e le altre tecnologie abilitanti per poi giungere a una validazione delle attuali roadmap o di introduzione di nuove roadmap. Da questo punto di vista ci sarà già il distretto rappresenta in parte la componente imprenditoriale e quella della ricerca, ci saranno dei coinvolgimenti un pochino più ampi appunto delle imprese piuttosto che del settore ricerca. Da questo punto di vista è prevista un'iniziativa nel mese di ottobre all'interno di un evento promosso dalla Presidenza del Consiglio dei Ministri sulle tecnologie della Terra, e quindi ci sarà uno spazio significativamente importante destinato proprio all'aerospazio e alle imprese che si sono interessate al progetto Stefani.
The last issue I want to share with you is focused on the challenges for the next planning period. Namely, I asked to my director to describe the main challenges for the next planning period with reference to the regional policies for photonics and the aerospace sector.
Le sfide che ci sono di fronte per la prossima fase di programmazione sono sfide, diciamo così, di medio-lungo periodo, sono strutturali. Sono strutturali, ma che in qualche modo devono attivarsi quanto prima. La prima è quella della transizione digitale, della transizione ecologica, cioè incrementare l'uso di tecnologie all'interno dei processi di produzione, ma questo settore è uno dei settori più avanzati da questo punto di vista, e che quindi, come dire, può lavorare per incrementi a margine, ma tra l'altro per migliorare ancora di più il proprio posizionamento competitivo. La seconda è migliorare la produttività e cercare di creare e ampliare una filiera di produzione legata all'aerospazio, perché in Toscana abbiamo, oltre che una grande impresa nazionale, anche delle imprese medio-grandi o piccole imprese che si collocano lungo la filiera della produzione della catena del valore nazionale e internazionale, e rafforzarle, potenziarle e creare delle opportunità maggiori anche di raccordo e di coordinamento, per quanto il nostro settore è abbastanza eterogeneo, e questo consente in qualche modo di avere copertura su mercati anche più ampi di quelli magari più concentrati. La terza è la qualificazione della forza lavoro, e quindi creare occasioni di occupazione aggiuntiva legata alla crescita delle imprese, e quindi un collegamento stretto con la formazione superiore, universitaria, ma anche con la formazione tecnica.
Okay, that's all from my side. I thanks again all the project partners for the really great experience, and on behalf of my colleagues, I want to tell you that we are ready for the next year of project implementation. Many thanks. Francesca, I leave you the floor. Thanks.
Thank you, Perla, for your presentation and for the interview to Albino Caporale. We will then maybe collect questions for the end of this round of presentations. And now I would like to introduce Ségolène Jean from the Joint Secretariat of the program. Welcome, Ségolène.
Welcome. Hello, everyone.
Hello. I will leave you the floor.
All right, so I'll just share my screen too. All right, can you confirm that you can see my screen?
Yes, perfectly.
Yes. All right, thanks. Up. Okay, let's just see if I can share it like this. Here it is. Okay, so first of all, thank you very much for the invitation today. I'm really pleased to be here and to represent the Joint Secretariat today. So I am a finance officer at the Joint Secretariat of Interreg Europe and following the project Stephanie. So today my presentation will be quite short, but only to talk about the main features of the program, to discuss the outputs, the outcomes, in link with the project Stephanie, and also to talk about the future and what is coming next. So about the program in itself, for those who might not know everything about it. So Interreg Europe is an interregional cooperation program. We have 4 schools ongoing now, with 258 projects running. And the partners, 25% of our partners are managing authorities of structural funds. So these are the target groups of the program. Also, almost 90% of the European region are represented in our projects, which is really great, and which shows really the diversity of the projects at a geographical level. So at the end of phase 1 of each project, we expect projects to report their outputs. And as end of May, these are the data we've taken for this presentation. At the end of May, a bit more than half of our projects have finished phase 1, but we've already reached our goals set in the cooperation program, which is really great, with lots of good practices identified, almost 4,000, more than 30,000 staff with increased capacity, and almost 1,000 action plans. And actually, there are other projects that are almost finishing their phase 1 at the end of May, 31 of May, so we'll have more outputs coming. So the aim of the program really is to improve policies, and reporting policy changes is really important for us. And we've already had 575 policy changes reported in 161 projects. And what we're also looking at is the leverage effect, which means that when we do invest €1 of ERDF in a territory, in a project, this is multiplied by 5, which shows that €5 are generated in other funds. So we're looking at this leverage effect to show that we do put European funds in the territory, but then this generates also all the investments in the European regions. As you may know, the other pillar of the Interreg Europe program is the policy learning platform. And you can see here on the screen the 4 services of this platform that are proposed. So we've got a community of peers with policy learning events, expert policy supports with a lot of peer reviews that are organized and proposed, the good practice database online, and also policy brief that are sent on specific topics. So I guess you are more familiar with the good practice database, where you can find good practices on innovation, for instance. But if you want to know more about the other services, please feel free to check our websites or to contact directly the policy learning platform too. Of course, it is hard nowadays to do a presentation without talking about COVID. So sorry about that, but I might have a few words about it. So the core element also of the program is to travel, to meet each other, and I would have loved to know all of you in presential meeting, but we had to adapt, and interregional cooperation must go on with virtual event, for instance. That's why the program had measures to propose, and for instance, the good practices of the program are now targeted to COVID too. So if you look at the good practices database, looking for the COVID-19 keyword, you have lots of good practices around COVID. The policy learning platform has also adapted its activities online, with online thematic activities, with experts providing supports. And also, of course, I wanted to mention the 5th school that has been launched a bit earlier this year. And we wanted to congratulate Stephanie and the partners for having applied so early at the beginning of the call, only when firstly launched, and for the approval of its application. So we're really looking forward to working with you for 1 additional year of exchange of experience, and congratulate for this successful application. Now back more on the topic of Stephanie. So cooperation on innovation delivery is one thematic axis of Interreg Europe, and we've got 53 projects on this topic, but we do not have any other project dealing with space technologies or photonics. So you are really a specific topic in your area, but we do have other projects, for instance, dealing with advanced manufacturing or Industry 4.0. So yeah, you can see here on the map the different link between partners all over Europe that are dealing with innovation delivery. About the results that have been reported so far, of course, we also want to congratulate the partners for that, because it is important for us to see that there has been policy changes. And in your case, in the progress report, we have seen 3 policy changes reported. So policy changes reported in Tuscany, in Prague, and in Andalusia, leading to easier process to submit applications, to improve governance at local level, and to the strategic development of the first aerospace strategy. So maybe there will be other policy changes coming in the final progress reports. We're looking for that. And we know that other partners that might not have reported policy changes have also reported other benefits from cooperation. And this really shows a successful exchange of experience between partners. So even after the closure of the project, we do encourage you to keep us updated about the lasting benefits of these exchanges, and do not hesitate to send us an email or to contact us if you have other policy changes even after the closure of the project. Now, around future of Interreg Europe, well, the programming process has started in December 2019 with the first programming committee. In 2021, the first draft cooperation program has been approved by the programming committee. We've also launched a public consultation, which has been closed back in April. And actually today and tomorrow, there is a programming committee going on. So the negotiations are really ongoing. And we're expecting to have the final cooperation program draft, or no, not draft, but the final cooperation program adopted by the member states this summer, I would say, and the approval by the European Commission early 2022. So for you, it would mean that the first call for the next programming period would be launched the first semester of 2022. As for the contents of this new cooperation program, you can have a look at our websites at the first drafts that have been approved and that is still on negotiation, but you can see the first points. And I would just discuss or say the main elements for the future. So our slogan now is no revolution, but evolution. So yeah, there will be no revolution because Interreg Europe will remain an interregional program, a pan-European program with the main objective to improve policy, to improve regional policies, so to target regional development policymakers as a core target group, and to do that thanks to capacity building. So the main elements of the program will remain the same at the end. However, there are a few elements that are going to change. So first of all, the member states wants to lighten the focus on structural funds. So as you know, the program at the moment is tackling 4 thematic axes, being innovation, being SME competitiveness, environment, and low carbon economy. And for each of these thematic axes, all the partners have to tackle at a minimum of 50% of structural funds. So 50% of each project's policy instrument have to be structural funds. However, in the future, they can tackle, I don't know, like more local strategies. And it could be, for instance, only one structural fund, one operational program within the project that will be tackled. So this is one element. Then the second point is the pilot actions that in the current programming period can be done in the second phase, and member state would like to give more opportunities, for instance, to do pilot action maybe in the first phase also of the project under certain conditions, but to be more open to this. And finally, there will not be these 4 thematic axes that can be a bit restrictive, but the program will be more open with only one single priority that will be focused on capacity building. So that means that all the topics that are covered by the cohesion policy could be tackled by the project partners. However, we envisage that around 80% of the funds will tackle the policy objectives of smarter and greener Europe. So these are the main elements that we do know will take part, will be included in the next programming period. But of course, this is still ongoing negotiations. So please, you can keep informed on our websites about it. Well, that would be it on my side. But of course, if you've got any questions, do not hesitate to ask them afterwards. And thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Ségolène, for your presentation. And I'm sure that there will be some questions from the partner for you for the future and for this information that you are providing us. So I will please ask you to stay with us until the question and answer session so that we can address them together.
All right, thanks.
Thank you. And now I will leave the floor to Peter Schenk from the European Commission that will talk us about synergies between cohesion policies and the Horizon Europe in the new programming period. Peter.
Thank you, Francesca. Thank you.
Hi.
The floor. Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Happy
thank you for being with us.
I'll just share my screen. So can you see the screen or no?
Yes, we can see your screen, not the presentation, but your laptop screen.
Okay. So
now we can see the laptop, the presentation. Yes, perfect.
Okay, perfect. So yeah, first of all, thanks a lot for inviting me. I'm pleased to be here at your meeting. In fact, it's in a way going back to my past because I used to work in the regional policy as a desk officer for the Interreg programs for many years before joining DG Research and Innovation. And it was always, was a pleasure to work on these programs, a lot of added value with it. So so happy to be back. And today I would like to give you a brief overview of the different possibilities for creating synergies between Horizon Europe and cohesion policy funds post-2020. I think it's a timely moment now that we've just heard from the Interreg program that they're programming just as all the other cohesion policy programs. So I think it's a good moment to present why we are trying to seek synergies and what are the new novelties in the future period. So let me start with a little bit with the context. So why are we doing this? Why have we been working on trying to facilitate and simplify synergies between union programs. We think it's, I mean, first of all, we have this underlying assumption clearly that, first of all, investments for research and innovation are key for regional development. There's a clear link between that and investment in research innovation. Also to support the scientific, societal impact and the transformation that we're undergoing. So there's a clear interest to invest in research and innovation. And if you do this, then why not do this in synergy with other research and innovation programs? Cohesion policy and Horizon Europe being the biggest key, in a way, research and innovation supporting programs at EU level. So our aim of working in synergy is, I mean, to increase the quality, quantity, and the impact of our investment in research and innovation, and that's independent of the source of the funding. So if we look, I mean, what does it need? I mean, to break synergies, it's okay. One thing is the mechanics, the operational implementation, and we've been working very hard in the last years in preparing the next the legislation for the post-2020 period for cohesion policy, for Horizon, also for state aid, and to try to facilitate and simplify putting this into operation. I'll come back later on the details. But it's also important to keep in mind that there's also a strategic for doing this. So it's important to be part of to do this as part of a strategy, of a vision, of common priorities, also in the programming, to be aware of the Horizon Europe. If you have a strong R&I focus, to be aware of the Horizon Europe priorities, what is being supported under the Horizon program, what are the missions, the partnerships, what's happening in the clusters, and all the different pillars under Horizon Europe. And in turn, of course, there's also many opportunities under Horizon Europe for regions to engage also under this program, even if it's not place-based like cohesion policy in the first place. So, so just over here, you have an overview of the pillars, the different pillars. I will not go into detail now of Horizon Europe. It's quite, you see, it's quite a wide quite a number of different areas, activities that are being supported. And but then, I mean, the Horizon Europe and cohesion policy, they have different, it's not the same program, otherwise it's clear you wouldn't need the two of them, but they have points of contact and areas which in which it is possible to collaborate. And I think here I just put this in the table to see, I mean, visually what is the most relevant policy objective on a cohesion policy, the Smarter Europe, and the priorities. This is covering the priorities in the first place for research and innovation. So enhancing research innovation capacities, uptake of advanced technologies, but also SME support, for example, in other areas. So this just as an overview. If you look at the different type of synergies, of operational synergies now in Horizon Europe, how to combine the funds in a very practical way, the main, let's say, categories, typologies are, and these are also with novelties in it, is first of all that it's possible to transfer resources from cohesion policy to Horizon Europe for the benefit of the transferring region. That's something new, up to 5% of the program, of the fund, allocation of the fund. Then you have alternative funding that has already been existing, the Seal of Excellence for excellent project proposals under Horizon that have not been supported due to a lack of funding. There we have some novelties to simplify and to make it easier to make use of this. I'll come back to that later. We have cumulative funding, so different programs fund the same, funding the same action. And then we have combined funding, also with some simplifications, and also important that regions can use, member states, regions can use the cohesion policy fund has a national contribution to the European partnerships. So if they want to participate in European partnerships, they have to bring with them a national contribution, and this can be cohesion policy, the cohesion policy funds. So that's as an incentive for transnational collaboration. This is something new. So briefly, what are the potential benefits for engaging in synergies for regions, for managing authorities, but also for beneficiaries? For the Seal of Excellence, for example, this alternative funding, there you have under Horizon Europe a pipeline of excellent project proposals, which have already been identified, have gone through the selection procedure of Horizon with independent experts. And so these are available, information is being made available, they're ready to be supported. Then it's also, I mean, a way also to bring excellence also to all regions, to be aware of for the managing authorities. I think that's important to know who are the actors that have been participating in Horizon, that have undergone a very strict selection procedure, which are considered excellent, which have received a label from both commissioners from DG Research and Innovation and from regional policy, and but for which they are above quality threshold, to call it under Horizon, but there was not sufficient funding in the call. So these are ready to be supported. For the partnerships, national contribution, it's also, as I mentioned, an incentive to participate. The fact that it can be the cohesion policy funds can be used as contribution to the partnerships. It's also new, and then the transfer possibilities is a possibility for managing authorities. They don't have to set up a full administrative system for selection of research innovation projects, for example, SME support, R&I projects, but they can transfer the funding to Horizon Europe, and then these projects are selected directly under Horizon Europe. And for the beneficiaries, it's the advantage that they are considered full Horizon projects. So they are not anymore, they're fully under Horizon Europe rules, followed by the agency under Horizon Europe. So it's a way also of capacity building for the SMEs, for the universities, for research organizations who are participating in this. So so back now a little bit more into detail for the different instruments. Seal of Excellence, what is new is that it's directly mentioned in the legislation that these project proposals can be supported without a new qualitative evaluation under ERDF. So the managing authorities can just straight away support these projects. The project beneficiaries, there's a possibility that they can use the Horizon Europe eligible costs, so they don't have to rewrite a new proposal for the ERDF. And if they do this, if they use the same eligible costs and the same rules, then there's also a simplification in terms of state aid, because there's no state aid notification required anymore, according to the general block exemption regulation, which is currently in review and hopefully to be adopted in July. So, so simplifications for the Seal of Excellence for alternative funding. I will not go into detail. It's not now for the state aid aspects, just to remember that this is there's no state aid notification required if the Seal of Excellence projects meet a few requirements that I mentioned. When we come to the transfer of resources, this is something new. So up to 5% can be transferred to any other EU fund, or also to Horizon Europe. And so this has to be done now, either now at the outset of the programming, so in the partnership agreement with a member state, or also during the course of the program. Then it requires a program amendment. So this is something that is new and allows them to fund projects, for example, Seal of Excellence project proposals, which are then do not receive the Seal of Excellence and then funded by the ERDF programs, but which are funded then directly under Horizon Europe, as I just mentioned. There's also a possibility of transfer back, so a bit of a reassurance to the regions, managing authorities. Money is not lost if Horizon Europe doesn't spend it, but it can be transferred back if it is not fully used under Horizon Europe. Maybe I will not go too much, the time is flying. So just to say that it's in principle, it's open to all parts, but of course, these transfers, and in fact, also the Seal of Excellence, most suitable for beneficiary schemes. And so like in the case of Seal of Excellence, otherwise you would need different managing authorities coordinating. It's not excluded, but it's for the moment where we're looking at mono-beneficiaries. It can also be, possible for any part of the Horizon Europe program. It's not necessary that it is mentioned in the work program. For the Seal of Excellence is mentioned, has to be mentioned in the work program, but for the transfer, it's very flexible. Yeah, so this isn't for the moment. Okay, yeah. So I think I'll leave it with that. And go to the next slide. The last, let's say, specific typology is the co-funding, combined funding, and as one part is the European partnerships. So the different possibilities to engage in European partnerships. There's a possibility of sequential funding, so funding for activities before or after a partnership funded projects, creating the preconditions, supporting the ecosystem that facilitates the participation, or afterwards to follow up projects through specific calls from the ERDF program. There's already some quite good experiences, for example, in the past, for Clean Sky partnership has some examples in that sense. So this was already possible, is fully possible in the future. Same with parallel funding of activities, so funding activities that are taking place that are in parallel, but towards the same objectives of the partnerships. But what is new is what I mentioned, this cohesion policy funds as national contribution to partnerships. Another example of combined funding, just to mention very briefly, is theming actions. So these are actions where you have centers of excellence in research and innovation lagging countries, regions, and where one part is coming from Horizon Europe, and then one complementary part has to come then from other funding sources, and often these are the cohesion policy funds. And here, again, you can use for these co-fund actions, you can use the same eligible costs, a bit like the Seal of Excellence. And if it is part of the same evaluation procedure, so both parts of support, then this can be exempt from state aid notification as well. I will not go again into details of the state aid for this part. But let me just finish with this slide. Looking a bit at the different possibilities, opportunities for synergies. I mentioned these are maybe the more complex, or not really complex, but a little bit more complicated ways of doing synergies. But then, of course, you have also the possibility, again, existing of upstream, downstream synergies, parallel synergies. For example, you can invest in capacity building, which then enables your in the region, the different partners in participating in Horizon Europe. Also investment in skills. For example, you could for example, take a prototype that has been funded by Horizon Europe and then bring it further with investment into a demonstrator, for example. So Horizon cannot typically go into higher TRL levels, but this is possible for cohesion policy funds. So this is a way also for complementary activities and synergies. Also dissemination activities and then taking up the results from Horizon, dissemination, exploitation of results. That's also something that is always possible, so more into the downstream area. And here there are also some new tools on the Horizon Europe, matchmaking platforms, a Horizon results platform, where you can see what are the results of specific projects that could be taken up. So all this will be available. Yeah, and I think with this I will leave it, and I'm happy to receive your questions, if any. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Peter, for your presentation. And as I said also to Ségolène, we will have the question and answer session at the end of this last presentation. So we'll please ask you to stay with us so that we can collect questions from the audience after the presentation of Simona Costa, that I would like to thank you for being here. Thank you, Simona.
Thank you. Thank you to you and to Peter as well. Shall I start?
Yes, definitely. Please start. Great.
Yes.
We can see your screen.
Perfect. Yes. So now I go to full screen, but sorry, I just go at the beginning. So here you are. Yes, here you are. So thank you very much I really would like to thank Regione Toscana for inviting me today. I'm Simona Costa. I represent the association Tour4U, which is the association that put together the 7 universities from Tuscany region together with Regione Toscana, so the regional authority in the research part. So our main aim is, of course, to promote internationalization and research for our universities and for our regional ecosystem. I'm also in the context of Jury, the Association of Informal Offices based in Brussels, Italian one, represent a working group on synergies. So today I have this hat as a chair of this working group, and I would like to present you the activity that we are doing in our working group. As I was saying, Jury is an informal group of Italian representative office based in Brussels. Is an informal platform that put together all the offices, liaison offices that take all the different stakeholders at Italian level based in Brussels. So we have regions, all the representative office of regions, the Association of Industrialists, the Association of Chamber of Commerce, trade, the banks. So all the, and of course, research centers and university based on Brussels. And this organization has been established in 2011, is, I was saying, informal, and organized regular meetings with the member of European Parliament, European Commission, and we have regular meeting also with our permanent representation, the attaché on research. So and all the delegates, from the shadow committee to the delegates now appointed with Horizon Europe in all the programs that will be active in the future programming period 2021-2027, focusing in particular on research. So with our group, we have established some working groups. One, for example, is on Digital Europe and digitalization. Another one is on partnership. And the one that I chair together with Meta Group and with the participation of university and regional authorities from Emilia-Romagna, Bolzano, and Friuli Venezia Giulia and other regions is the one on synergy. synergies among funding schemes. And as Peter Schenk said just before me, synergies will be a very important aspects of the new programming period. I was joined this morning also the R&I Days, the most important event by DG, organized by DG Research, launching the new programming period. And it was clear this morning from commissioners, Maria Gabriel, and from Mr. Paquet and all the other commissioners, that the synergies are very key in this new programming period, in particular with the link with Horizon Europe, structural funds, but also the recoveries and resilience funds. And we celebrate in these days in Belgium, in Italy, the approval of the first tranche of money that will be devoted to that. In this new programming period, the possibility to make synergy has been made available for 15 programs. So the main, of course, is Horizon Europe with the structural funds, but we have also to consider other programs like Digital Europe, InvestEU, that is also a new, these two programs are new, totally new. But also Erasmus Plus, the space program, the single market program, the internal security fund, the innovation funds, LIFE, and the Connecting Euro facilities. So all these programs will have the opportunity, really, thanks to this new simplification that have been introduced with a hard work made by the three DGs, DG RTD, DG Regio, and DG Competition, allowing a simplification of the rules and the possibility not to have consider state aid this important part also from structural funds, not only from Horizon. So this aspect of simplification has been announced the last year during the R&I Days by Magda De Carli, together with all the directors from the three DGs, putting in evidence what are also the articles of the three regulations that will simplify and clarify the possibility to allow and simplify the synergies. So synergy will be possible with Marie Skłodowska-Curie, proof of concept program, ERC, and of course, very important will be also the collaboration with the cumulative, so the partnership, and the European Innovation Council that now replace the small and medium enterprise instrument. As I don't repeat it because Peter said it clearly, there are 4 typology of synergy alternative: the famous seal of excellence, combined, transfer, that is new, and cumulative. This is it will be very much focusing on partnership, and also this slide has been also quoted by Peter, of course. So all the possibility related with structural funds to that. And also the upstream synergies and the downstream synergies that will be possible, trying to work in the preparatory phase of Horizon Europe, promoting business plans for center of excellence, industrial pilot as bed, feasibility study of research infrastructure, or downstream synergies, so making available and disseminate more the results of the funded projects. But what we did in our how we organized the work in our working group, we started to work 2.5 years ago promoting a first event in Florence organized by APRE and the University of Florence, trying to start to approach before negotiation the synergies. So Magda De Carli, representative from DG Connect, representative for EU Invest, have been present in Florence, and we combine this with several examples of synergy from direct, first of all, from direct to direct program. Then we launched the group in Brussels, and we decided that we wanted to focus with the rest of the participants of our group, that is composed more or less of 50 members, focusing on the publication of a vademecum, so a document, a guidebook that will follow step by step the negotiation process. And this document has been already updated twice. So we had a first document, presentation of the document, the 17th of September 2020. So a first version where combined with a big event at national level that have been organized by the jury and APRE from Brussels, together with the European Commission, so with DG Regio, DG RTD, and DG Competition, and where all the managing authority at national regional level have been invited. This event have been followed by a second event that was also presenting the second version of the vademecum in September, the 24th of February 2021, where the second version of the vademecum has been presented to again to the same actors, so European Commission, managing authority at national and regional level, and where also all the regional authority and national authority presented their good practices, how the new idea that they have in the new programming period, but also the barriers that has been encountered in the previous one, in order also to make clear, to explain to the Commission also the important elements that should be changed in the new programming period. And this help a lot also DG Research and DG Arts and DG Regio in the negotiation phase to clarify what were the aspects that should be changed. As I was saying, the vademecum is it's a toolbox always updated to accompany the European negotiation and the subsequent application of the synergies. It is addressed to regional and national managing authority. It contains the main legislative reference to synergy in the EU funding programs, all the an update and a status of the negotiation, and a mapping of the best practice that have been implemented in the previous programming period 2014-2020, and some in the second version in February we updated also some new ideas where that some region started to work on. So in total, now we have 22 examples that have been presented from the previous and also some, as I was saying, of the new programming period. And as we said, in this new programming period, the European Commission intends to promote synergy between the structural funds, ordinary program, but including a multi-annual financial framework and the Next Generation EU. In fact, we have devoted a chapter specifically on the Recovery Fund and Next Generation EU. This is a choral document, has been made really with a core group, and I have to thank Confindustria, Regione Emilia-Romagna, Regione Toscana, because they gave us a lot of examples, our university from Tuscany and other Italian university, for all the examples that have been showcases. The version of February is composed of 5 chapters. So one chapter is on synergy between structural funds and Horizon Europe program, which is of course the most important one. Synergies between structural fund and Erasmus+, and this is very interesting for managing authority and for university as well. Synergy between structural funds and Digital Europe program, this new program that will give a lot of opportunity for synergy. In particular, regional authority now are working, region and cluster are working on digital innovation hub for call for proposal that will be launched in probably next September, not in before summertime. And this will be a perfect example. It will be a digital innovation hub in principle at regional level. So most of the region in Europe will have it, a one-stop shop for company and small and medium enterprises for all the main topic related to ICT. So high performance computing, cybersecurity, in artificial intelligence, big data. And so this will be a perfect program and initiative where the combination of funding will be promoted. And then we put a chapter also on InvestEU that has been launched with pilot project in the previous programming period, but with a strong reinforcement in this new period. And finally, we put a chapter on the synergy with structural fund and Next Generation EU. In the annex, we put all the reference, the legislative reference, the GDPR, so all the part related to state aid, and then a more practical part concerning more the grant agreement. So how practically it will be possible to combine funding between Horizon and then the structural funds. So going a little bit more on details about chapters. We in the chapter 1 of structural fund and Horizon, we presented concerning, for example, synergy through alternative funding, seal of excellence. For example, of the previous programming period that include 3 from the PMI instrument phase 1 and phase 2, and 1 example from Marie Skłodowska-Curie. And we included also 2 examples, 2 possible paths for the new programming period that where regions and the university have already identified Marie Skłodowska-Curie in combination with European Social Fund as a possible synergy to set up. Then we have synergies on sequential funding, and here we have 4 examples. We have then synergies with cumulative funding with 3 examples of the previous programming period and 3 of the new one. And then in the chapter 2, we have examples on Erasmus+, and in particular concerning university alliances, which is a new program that again in the future will be a very important program where synergy will be possible. And the first example, we had it this year with the launch after Erasmus Plus of a call devoted in Horizon 2020 in Science with and for Society, devoted to the consortia that have been selected in this University Alliances initiative that have now 41 consortia at European level. I would like also I put also some examples. One typical example that I put also in the vademecum is the one that DG Connect do when they describe, for example, the possible synergy and the combination of funding schemes in health sector. So starting from Horizon Europe, going to connecting Euro facilities using, 5G connectivity and innovative infrastructure, going to cohesion funds, so with the possibility to replicate on the ground, on the local ecosystem, the pilot that have been developed in Horizon Europe, and then selected also in Connecting Euro facility, and then also the possibility to use Digital Europe, in particular with large scale demonstrator and on, for example, on artificial intelligence and so on. So this is one example. Another important example at Italian level has been also the Seal of Excellence that has been launched by the Ministry of Economic Development on supporting small and medium enterprise instrument. And this was devoted in particular to region less developed. And also the ministry had some funding also for a region in transit, and this initiative has a lot of success. A lot of participation has been. It's an instrument that has been quite well used by all the regions, the Italian regions. Another example, again, of Seal of Excellence, and I think this is an example really of combination of the use of Seal of Excellence with structural funds, has been designed and developed. This is a new one. I mean, Regione Lombardia has been one of the few regional authority that launched in the previous programming period a Seal of Excellence for small and medium enterprises with structural funds. And I put it in this case an example from Regione Lombardia that intend to use in the new programming period, and it will be in particular on the utilization of Marie Sklodowska-Curie and the European Social Fund, using the project that have been presented in Horizon 2020 in the last call, and that had not been selected in that case just because there was not enough funding scheme from the Commission side. So the regional authority is designing a new instrument promoting this possibility. I put also some example from Tuscany region. So from Tuscany and Tuscany actors. One of these is the European infrastructure called So Big Data, that have been followed by a second project presented in the infrastructure program of Horizon 2020, So Big Data Plus Plus. This has been not only, this has been a project, a sequential synergy, because this the CNR, our National Research Center based in Pisa, have been selected and coordinating this big European infrastructure. But then, starting from this European project, the center not only involved other university from the entire region and the regional authority, but also they design a cascade series of funding using European Social Fund. So this is a very interesting example again of sequential sequential funding. I put also another example concerning partnership, because as I said before, and also said by the Commission, Peter Schenk, it will be very much strengthen the synergy between structural funds and the partnership. 10 days ago, the Ministry of Economic Research, the Ministry of Research at Italian level launched an exercise with stakeholders, university, regional authority and cities on the digital transition partnership, for example. And this is the first example launched at national level where synergies with local actors and the regional actors have been launched by the ministry, preparing the participation of the regional authority to this partnership. This is an example of the ERANET co-fund made by the Tuscany region, but where there's also the collaboration of other regional authority at European level and at national level. So we have the examples of ManuNet project on manufacturing and the Photonics sensing project. So both of them are ERANET co-fund. So where the combination of funding have been launched also launching a cascade tender call for proposal with international partners involved in the partnership. And the other one is the ERANET ERA-PERMED that is specialized on, is a co-fund in personalized medicine that give a lot of funding to local actors, to companies, to university and to research center and to hospitals. So these examples are very important example of how also this initiative could continue also in the next programming period. So what next concerning our working group? So our idea is now to launch a third version of the vademecum. It will be done next September. So we wanted to that all the negotiation and the legislative part was finalized. We will include probably other additional chapter describing also other programs that have not been described so far, like a Connecting Euro facility, like LIFE, for example. This will be combined again with a national event with a national managing authority, regional authority, and the commission. And in our association based in Brussels of university called UniLion, we are also making this exercise with all the European university, trying to collect and mapping all the examples done so far, also by other countries, based on the vademecum that we as Italy, we have developed. So this is, for once, a good example, and totally on a voluntary basis, done by our groups, and thanks also to the collaboration with all the managing authorities that contribute to the vademecum, but also to presenting the positive and negative elements at the national events. I put now at the end of my presentation also the link with the vademecum that is published at national level in the APRE, in our national agency website, APRE, and also an English version of the February version is available. So if by chance also other regions, not only Italian but European level, are interested in having a look to the document, I think it can be really a very, very interesting document because the main elements are interesting for all European regions. So thank you for your attention, and I'm here available for question when it will be the time of the question time. Thank you.
Thank you, Simona. Thank you for your presentation. And now we are a bit late, but I think we can have time for some questions if you have them to our guest. I don't know if there is anybody from the floor that would like to start. Yes. I can see Perla.
Yes, thank you. I have a question for Peter Schenk and one question for Simona Costa. The question for Peter is about the Seal of Excellence. I was wondering if this kind of mechanism will be implemented only with reference to a specific funding scheme, as it was in the past, or if we can imagine a wider application, a wider implementation of the mechanism to other European funding schemes. For Simona, the question is if in the context of your activity of jury, if you are planning to organize some training courses for public servants or managing authorities in order to show how to put in practice the synergies of funds. Thank you.
Maybe Peter first.
Yes, thank you. So the first, Simona, you're welcome also to answer. But I think some of the points you already mentioned in your presentation, in fact, also, I mean, for the Seal of Excellence, there's a number of areas therefore for which it is more suited to be applied, and it's not. In principle, it could be applied across all the different pillars of Horizon. So there's no limit, let's say, legally, to apply the Seal of Excellence. In practice, we have to look, of course, at the alternative funding source. What fits into the intervention logic and into the scope of the alternative funding source, so that it's suitable for them to fund and support these projects. So that's why we're looking in particular at mono-beneficiary grants, and this will be, I mean, the successor of the SME instrument, so the EIC accelerator. There is already the work program. You will find that this is already planned, but also it could also be something that at one point was envisaged, for example, for the ERC proof of concept. It's also similar. I mean, that it's a mono-beneficiary grant. It could, for MSCA actions, it was already mentioned, Simona. It could also be applied for teaming actions. That's also something that is possible and has so. So there's a number of areas under Horizon where this would be well suited. But as I said, it's important that that it's interesting for the fundings, alternative funding scheme. If you take the EIC accelerator, it's interesting because the beneficiaries are, you know, they're located in a certain territory, which can be the territory of the program. It's close to the market. It's often falls under SME support also. So it's something that is really it's coherent with the intervention logic of the funding program. Just to mention, final word maybe, it's also possible the Seal of Excellence to be used in other programs, and I know that some programs are thinking about it. So some of the programs that Simona also had on a slide, for example, Digital Europe. So there's some reflections also going on. to use this concept. But again, I mean, I always emphasize also when talking to colleagues who are interested, be in contact with DG Regional Policy, with the managing authorities, with those which you are, targeting, because it doesn't make any sense to distribute a lot of seals of excellence which then cannot be supported, and you create expectations so yeah. So I think I'll leave it with that. Thank you.
Thank you. So to complete from my side, at the moment, I'm invited quite often bilaterally from several regions. For example, I had already some events organized by Lombardy region, Umbria, Puglia region, and now also Tuscany region. Everybody is trying now at Italian level to launch the debates internally. I mean, regions are a little bit late on that, but I mean, I don't think it's not a problem. It's synergy is something that you can start now and then implement also in the next years, I think. So what is important is that a sentence in your smart specialization and also in your operational plan quote the possibility to have synergies, Then, of course, to go on practice, it's important to have some to make exercises with local actors, and maybe involve also the commission to better understand, for example, with how practically these synergies can be done. So what we plan to do is for sure another event at national level in September. I understood that also the Commission is preparing a guidebook or a sort of vademecum where they will explain in practical way also how to do synergies. So probably in September, when we will have this event, the document will be, I imagine, ready from the side of the Commission. But then, and in that occasion, we will try also to go a little bit more on details, also always with the same subject. So with the ministries, to see, for example, from the ministry side, how they are tackling the participation to the partnership, how they are linking the recovery fund with the regional authority, for example. So this will be something at national level. Then we are also available, if you want, with the jury to organize also go more on details and maybe to tackle a specific topic and try to see practically with the support, maybe inviting people from the Commission, some experts from the Commission, how could be done, But in every case, have a look in the version of February already of some examples that we put, that are the first ideas of some regions, how to do it. Also Emilia-Romagna, I know that they are also organizing an event also related to synergies. So from our side, if there's an interest from regional authority to to go on practice and to organize something detailed, we are more than welcome as a group, as a national group in jury. So if you have any idea, we are very happy, maybe after the event of next September, to go more on details and organize something specific according to the needs, so maybe tackling some partnership or specific partnership or Marie Zlodowska-Curie, or the proof of concept, on ERC. So up to your needs.
Thank you very much also to Peter.
Thank you, Perla, for your question. I don't know if there are other questions from the floor.
No. Until now, there are no further questions and no raised hands.
Okay, so just before leaving the floor to Roberto and Valentina for our conclusion, I will have a little surprise for you because there's a guest that would like to say a word and say hello to all of you.
Hello to everybody. I'm Miriam Siciliano. I followed the project since the very beginning, since it was started. And so I'm very proud to be with all of you together today, because I'm very happy to see how far the project has gone and the great results that you all have reached all together. So I just want to say congrats and wish you all the best of luck also for the new additional year of work ahead of you. Well done, guys.
Yeah, thank you. Okay.
And so now we can leave the floor to Roberto and Valentina for the conclusion of the event. Thank you, everybody.
Okay, so can you hear me?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, great. It was really a pleasure to see Miriam. She was accompanying us in the first part of the project, so it was great to see her again. I'm just ending up just to say a few words that in the past, before the pandemic, we had the opportunity to meet many times with wonderful Stefani partners, and those events were significant opportunities to share experience and to collaborate. This time, I am so sorry that we could offer just a virtual event. It would be very exciting to have all you here in Florence, but still it has been a great opportunity to hear directly from local stakeholders feedbacks and impacts of Stefani actions carried out at regional level. And as underlined also by our officer, Ségolène Jean, the project produced real policy changes in some regions, in others are expected in the next future. Moreover, other results of cooperation have been reported by the Stefani partners, stimulated by our activities. Today, we have learned that despite different development stages in space technologies and in photonics in the different regions, nevertheless, Stefani cooperation helped to promote a new aerospace program, networks and clusters. And in this was for the very first time. So this is very important. So I'm saying just congratulations to everybody. As I said this morning, I'm looking forward to continuing to work together for another year. So thank you so much.
Okay, thank you, Roberto. What I can add to your warm words? Well, I must confess that it has been great to work together in the frame of Stefani. I mean, we started colleagues as colleagues, and now we are friends. It has been really great to share your enthusiasm for cooperation, for exchanging experiences, discussion, and so on. I'm really happy to have this opportunity. I'm looking forward to collaborating with you also in the new additional activities for the next year starting September. And well, what we can add, thanks to everybody, to all the participants, especially to the speakers, and for Francesca and Hendrik for the organization, the smooth organization of the event. Really a great experience. Thank you all.